everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the world of shamanism.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Exploring the wisdom found in the Wisdom of the Shamans by Don Jose Ruiz.
Okay.
You might have heard the term shaman before, but what does it really mean? What kind of wisdom do they actually possess? And how can it be relevant to, your life today? That's what we're here to uncover.
I think one of the most important things to note right off the bat is that shamanism isn't about rigid rules or a hierarchy.
Yeah.
It's really about this personal journey of awakening, discovering your own truth and finding true freedom.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and think of yourself as an artist.
Oh, okay.
And your life is like this masterpiece that you're creating.
Oh, that's a great analogy. So how do shamans help us awaken then?
Right.
Ruiz has this fascinating idea that we're all dreaming all the time. And I don't mean literally sleeping,
Yeah.
but in the sense of realizing the power we have to shape our own reality. And the stories in this book are like these keys to unlocking that power.
I like that.
Yeah. We'll be exploring themes like letting go of old dreams to make space for new ones, how our minds can actually create suffering through attachment and judgment,
Right.
and even tapping into what Ruiz calls silent knowledge, that intuition that goes beyond our everyday thoughts.
I see.
Yeah.
And we'll also touch upon how this shamanic wisdom can help us navigate the ups and downs of life, find ways to celebrate even when things get tough,
Yeah.
and even connect with the wisdom of our ancestors.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. Our first stop is the story of the eagle and the snake, which really highlights this whole idea of finding your truth.
Okay, so the story starts with an aging Aztec shaman telling his tribe to leave their village and find a new home.
Okay.
And they're guided by a very specific sign. Years later, they find it and build this magnificent city of Tenochtitlan, what we know as Mexico City today. But here's the twist. The shaman's spirit appears to them and says that they've only completed the lesser journey.
Wait, what? They built a whole city. That wasn't enough.
Exactly. The greater journey is the inward one, the journey of discovering personal freedom.
Oh.
And Ruiz defines that as a state where love rules over fear, where we fully embrace ourselves, shed those limiting beliefs, and ultimately break free from unnecessary suffering.
So it's not about external achievements, but about the internal work we do.
You got it. It's like building that inner city of peace and self-acceptance.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how do we even begin to find that personal freedom? What can we do?
Well, the story also introduces this really cool concept of silent knowledge.
Okay.
It's not something you learn from books,
Right.
but it's a deeper knowing accessed through intuition, gut feelings, even dreams.
Okay.
Remember how the tribe had to trust their inner guidance to find their new home?
Yeah.
That's silent knowledge at work.
Oh, I get it. Like when you have a strong feeling about something and it turns out to be right.
Precisely. It's that inner wisdom that's always available to us if we learn to listen. Now imagine applying that silent knowledge to your own life. What old dreams are you holding on to that might be holding you back?
Oh.
What would it look like to write a new, more exciting chapter in your own story?
That's a great question to reflect on. I know I have a few old dreams I need to let go of.
Yeah.
And speaking of letting go, the next story, the Riverman really dives into how we react to life's inevitable changes.
Oh yeah, this one is a good one. It's about a young man who loses his beloved in a tragic ritual sacrifice.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the grief and anger he must have felt. He becomes so consumed by it that he actually attempts suicide.
Wow, that's heavy. So what happens next?
His beloved spirit appears to him and urges him to let go of the past, to forgive. And through this really powerful encounter, he transforms into the Riverman, a being of peace and acceptance.
Wow.
Years later, he encounters a Spanish conquistador who is disillusioned by the cruelty he's witnessed.
So both characters experience profound loss, but they find a way to move forward.
Exactly. The story really emphasizes the cyclical nature of life, how triumphs and tragedies are woven into the very fabric of existence.
Right.
The Riverman's transformation shows us that we don't have to be swept away by difficult emotions. Instead, we can learn to surrender to the flow of life.
Yeah.
Much like a river finds its way around obstacles.
But that doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing our feelings, right?
Not at all. It's more about recognizing that clinging to pain or resisting change only prolongs our suffering.
Right.
Think about a time when your plans were completely upended, maybe a job loss or a relationship ending.
Yeah.
Did you try to fight against the current? Or did you find a way to adapt and flow with the changes?
Yeah.
The tough lesson, but a valuable one.
It is. And the riverman's journey provides a beautiful roadmap for navigating those turbulent waters. It makes me wonder, though, what role does attachment play in all of this?
That's a great question. The story really highlights the dangers of attachment to beliefs, to outcomes, to material things.
Okay.
Think about the Mayans who felt justified in sacrificing the woman, or the conquistadors driven by greed.
Yeah.
They were all attached to certain beliefs and desires, which ultimately led to suffering.
That's a powerful insight. So it's not just about learning to let go of pain, but also about examining the beliefs we're holding on to.
Right.
Are they truly serving us, or are they creating unnecessary stress and conflict in our lives?
Exactly.
It's something we all need to consider.
For sure.
Okay, get ready for a story that'll spark your imagination. The Birth of Quetzalcoatl.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, it's great. It's about a tiny snake who's terrified of the light and spends his days hiding in this dark cave.
Oh, wow.
But one day, the rain god Trelloc decides to flood the cave, forcing him out into the world.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's got to face his fears.
Sorry.
And he's completely dazzled by the beauty of the Quetzal birds and longs to fly like them. But another snake, representing all those voices of self-doubt, tells him, "You're just a snake destined to crawl on the ground."
Oh, come on.
I know, right? Don't listen to that snake.
Exactly.
Thankfully, he doesn't.
Good for him.
Yeah. He looks at his reflection in a pool of water and has this incredible realization. He sees the power of his own imagination and embraces it, transforming into the magnificent feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl.
That's so cool.
I know, right? So the snake's fear and self-doubt were keeping him trapped in the darkness of the cave.
Exactly. The cave represents those limitations we impose on ourselves.
Yeah.
The beliefs that tell us we're not enough or that we can't achieve our dreams.
Right.
But Quetzalcoatl embodies the power of imagination to break free from those limitations and create something truly beautiful and unique.
It's a powerful metaphor for those times in our lives when we feel stuck or afraid to take risks. It makes me think about, those moments of pure creativity we often experience as children. And then somewhere along the way, many of us lose that spark.
It's true.
Yeah.
And this story is a reminder that that creative power is still within us. It just needs to be rekindled.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And remember, creativity isn't limited to art or music. It's a mindset, a way of approaching life with curiosity and a willingness to try new things.
Yeah.
Even if they seem impossible.
Right.
It's the key to breaking free from the confines of our own self-made caves.
So what's one small creative act you can do today to reawaken that spark? Maybe it's trying a new recipe, writing a poem, or simply taking a different route on your walk.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, don't be afraid to tap into that creative power within you.
Love it.
Now let's journey into the jungle.
Okay.
A story about a young boy, the son of a shaman, who visits the Mayan pyramids with his father. He's absolutely awestruck by these incredible structures and wonders if humans could have possibly built them alone.
Right.
His father, wise as he is, tells him he'll find the answer in his dreams. That night, the boy dreams he's in the jungle,
Okay.
but he's experiencing it with a heightened awareness,
I see.
sensing every rustle of leaves, every heartbeat of the animals around him.
Wow, that sounds intense. So the jungle is more than just a physical place in this story.
Absolutely. The jungle represents the overwhelming input of reality. All the sights, sounds, sensations constantly bombarding us.
Yeah.
And our minds, in an attempt to simplify things, start labeling, judging, creating stories. But these mental shortcuts can distort our experience, causing us to miss the richness and complexity of the present moment.
It's true. I've definitely caught myself making snap judgments about people or situations.
Me too.
It's like we're on autopilot, not fully present to what's actually
You
happening.
hit the nail on the head. And this story is a wake-up call to become more aware,
Right.
both of our surroundings and our internal reactions to them.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from that autopilot mode to a state of mindful presence, really seeing and experiencing the world as it is without those mental filters.
That makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of that saying, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Our perception shapes our reality.
Right. But how do we even begin to cultivate that kind of awareness?
Well, there's this really cool concept in Toltec tradition called the Toltec hunter.
Okay.
Imagine a hunter stalking their prey. They're completely focused, aware of every detail, every movement.
Yeah.
Now imagine applying that same level of focus to your own mind.
So we're not just passively observing our thoughts and feelings, but actively tracking them, noticing those limiting beliefs and patterns that arise.
Exactly. By becoming aware of those mental traps, we can choose not to be ruled by them. It's like we become the master of our own mental jungle instead of getting tangled in the vines of negativity and limiting beliefs.
Wow, that's a powerful image. I love the idea of becoming a Toltec hunter in my own mind.
Yeah.
It seems like awareness is really the first step on this journey of awakening.
You're absolutely right. It's about waking up from that mental slumber and becoming fully present to the richness and complexity of life.
Yeah.
And from that place of awareness, we can start to make conscious choices that align with our true selves.
Now, what happens when we shine the light of awareness on those parts of ourselves we tend to hide or deny?
That's a good question.
Yeah. The next story, The Devil's Cave, takes us on a chilling journey into the depths of our shadow selves.
Okay. This one's about a man who ventures into a dark cave in search of wisdom.
Okay.
But as he goes deeper, he's bombarded by these tormented voices.
Hmm.
His own past mistakes and regrets amplified 1,000-fold.
That sounds terrifying. So what are these voices trying to tell him?
They represent his own shadow self.
Okay.
Those aspects of ourselves that we try to hide or deny,
Right.
often out of fear or shame.
Yeah.
And when we push these parts away, they tend to grow stronger in the darkness, tormenting us with guilt and self-judgment.
Yeah, I think we all have those moments where our inner critic takes over,
Oh, for sure.
replaying past mistakes and making us feel unworthy.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And this story shows us what can happen when we try to outrun our shadows.
Oh.
It's like trying to escape our own reflection.
So running away from our fears only makes them stronger.
Exactly. The man in the story eventually comes face to face with the source of the voices.
Oh, wow.
This terrifying demonic figure that represents all his darkest fears.
Oh, wow. That's intense. I can't imagine coming face to face with my own demons like that.
But instead of giving in to fear, the man does something incredibly courageous.
What does he do?
He embraces the demon.
He embraces the demon. I'm not sure I understand.
It's about embracing those shadow aspects with compassion instead of judgment.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that even our darkest parts deserve to be seen and acknowledged.
So it's not about pretending those negative qualities don't exist,
Right.
but about integrating them into our whole selves.
You got it. And the man's act of embracing his shadow is what ultimately transforms it. The demon, which initially represented fear and self-hatred, becomes an ally,
Wow.
guiding him on his path.
Wow, that's amazing. So by facing our fears and accepting our shadows, we can actually turn them into sources of strength.
Exactly. It's like alchemy,
Oh,
transforming darkness into light.
I love that.
And it's a journey that requires tremendous courage and self-compassion.
I can see how that could be a lifelong process. It's definitely making me rethink my relationship with my own shadow self.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of shamanic wisdom.
Uh-huh.
It challenges us to look within and embrace the fullness of who we are, even the parts that make us uncomfortable.
Okay, so we've explored finding our truth, navigating change, and even facing our shadow selves.
Right.
But how do we apply this wisdom to our interactions with others, especially those who challenge us? That's where the parable of divinity and discernment comes in.
Oh, this is a good one.
Ah.
This one was told by Don Jose's grandmother, Madre Sarita, a powerful shaman in her own right.
Okay.
It's about a man who's told that God is going to visit him.
Okay.
He prepares lavishly, wanting to make a good impression. But in the process, he ends up turning away an old woman, a beggar, and some children who come to his door.
He turns them away. Why would he do that?
He's so focused on the grand gesture of welcoming God that he misses the divine presence right in front of him, in the form of the needy and vulnerable.
That's a powerful lesson in humility. It's easy to get caught up in our own agendas and miss the opportunities for kindness and compassion that present themselves each day.
Exactly. And when God finally appears, he reprimands the man for not recognizing the divine in those he turned away.
So it's not about grand gestures or trying to impress a higher power. It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity in every human being.
Got it. Shamanism challenges us to see the divine spark in everyone,
Yeah.
even those who are different from us or those who challenge our beliefs.
That's a tall order. It requires a lot of open-mindedness and compassion.
Absolutely. And that's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
It's not about being naive or letting people take advantage of us.
Yeah.
It's about seeing situations clearly,
Right.
setting healthy boundaries and acting with both wisdom and kindness.
So it's about finding that balance between unconditional love and protecting ourselves from harm.
Precisely. And Madre Sarita provides a great example of this in another story.
Okay.
She tells of two neighbors, one who generously shares his crops and another who takes advantage of that generosity.
Oh, no. So what happens?
Eventually, the generous neighbor has to lock his barn to protect his livelihood. It's a reminder that even kindness has limits.
Yeah.
And that saying no can be an act of self-love and self-respect.
It's a tough lesson, but an important one. Discernment is about recognizing when our generosity is being reciprocated and when it's being exploited. It's about setting boundaries that allow us to give freely without being taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about a story that explores our relationship with death and the importance of honoring our ancestors, the Day of the Dead.
Oh, this is a great one. Most people associate it with a festive celebration in Mexican culture.
Right.
But Ruiz's grandmother had a deeper interpretation. She believed that the true Day of the Dead is about awakening the dead parts within ourselves.
Wait, what does that mean?
It's about recognizing those aspects of ourselves that are stuck in fear, regret, or denial. The parts that are preventing us from living fully and embracing the present moment.
So it's like we're carrying around our own inner graveyard of unprocessed emotions and limiting beliefs.
You could say that. And the Day of the Dead becomes an opportunity to acknowledge those parts of ourselves with compassion and choose to let them go.
Yeah.
To make space for new life and growth.
It's a powerful metaphor for personal transformation, letting go of the old to make way for the new.
Exactly. And it's also about honoring our ancestors.
Yeah.
Not just with sadness, but with joy.
Right.
Recognizing the love and light they brought into the world and letting their legacy inspire us to live more fully.
It's a beautiful way to connect with those who've come before us and to draw strength and wisdom from their journeys.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. We've covered so much already. We've explored finding our truth,
We have.
navigating change, facing our shadow selves, practicing discernment, and even finding wisdom in the Day of the Dead.
Yeah, and we're just getting started.
I know, right?
Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the practical applications of shamanic wisdom
Okay.
and how you can integrate these teachings into your own life.
Awesome.
You'll discover the power of rituals, the significance of animal totems, and much more.
I'm excited to see where this journey takes us.
Me too. It's going to be an amazing exploration of the power and wisdom that lies within each of us.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break.
So before the break, we were talking about the importance of awareness and presence.
Right. It's like that story of the jungle where the boy learns to perceive the world with like heightened senses, truly seeing the interconnectedness of all things.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that our everyday perceptions can be limited by mental filters, labels, judgments, and stories we create. Shamanic practice encourages us to go beyond those filters and experience reality in a more direct and expansive way.
And you mentioned this concept of the Toltec hunter. Can you elaborate on that a little? It sounds really intriguing, but I'm not quite sure what it means to stalk the mind like that.
Oh, of course. Imagine a skilled hunter tracking their prey. They're completely alert, noticing every subtle detail, every rustle in the undergrowth. The Toltec hunter does the same with their thoughts and emotions. Observing them without judgment, becoming aware of the patterns and habits that shape their inner world.
So it's like we become both the observer and the observed, paying attention to our mental and emotional landscape, but like without getting swept away by it.
Precisely. And by developing this kind of mindfulness, we can start to see the ways in which our thoughts and beliefs create our reality.
Okay.
We can challenge the assumptions that limit us and make choices that are more aligned with our true selves.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like we're taking back control of our own mental jungle instead of letting the wild growth of negativity and limiting beliefs take over.
Yeah.
Speaking of facing our inner challenges, Ruiz's book also talks about the power of rituals. There's a really fascinating story called The Rattlesnake Initiation, where he and his brother undergo a ritual to become apprentices on the shamanic path.
Right, and what's remarkable is how rituals can be used to mark a transition or a shift in consciousness. In this case, the ritual involves specific objects, a stick, stones, a feather, is imbued with symbolic meaning.
It's like those objects become more than just physical things. They become vessels for intention, focusing energy, and marking a commitment to like a new way of being.
Exactly. And the fact that their father, a powerful shaman, was able to summon rattlesnakes during the ritual speaks to the deep connection shamans have with the natural world.
Wow.
Their ability to tap into forces that most of us are unaware of.
It makes you wonder what other possibilities might open up when we connect with nature in such a profound way.
Absolutely. Shamanism teaches us that everything is interconnected, and that we have the potential to access wisdom and guidance from the natural world if we're open to it.
So it's not just about intellectual understanding, but about cultivating a deep and respectful relationship with all of creation.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
Right.
And that we can draw strength and inspiration from that connection.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about a story that really dives into the concept of facing our fears, the Devil's Cave. This one is about a young man who enters a dark cave, and as he goes deeper, he's tormented by voices filled with suffering and regret.
Right. Those voices represent his own shadow self, those aspects of himself that he's tried to suppress or deny.
Okay.
The cave symbolizes the depths of his unconscious mind, where those repressed emotions and beliefs fester.
It's a powerful metaphor for how we can become our own worst enemies, allowing our inner critic to torment us with self-doubt and judgment.
Precisely. And the story highlights the importance of confronting those shadow aspects instead of trying to outrun them.
So running away from our fears only makes them stronger.
Exactly. The man in the story eventually comes face to face with the source of the voices, a terrifying demonic figure that represents all his darkest fears. But instead of giving in to fear, he makes a radical choice.
What does he do?
He embraces the demon. He realizes that it's not something separate from him, but a part of himself that he needs to acknowledge and integrate.
Wow. So embracing the shadow is the key to disarming it.
You got it. It's a profound act of self-acceptance, recognizing that even our darkest parts deserve compassion.
That's a powerful message. It's like we're turning our inner critic into an inner ally.
Exactly. And the transformation is remarkable. The demon, which initially represented fear and self-hatred, becomes a guide helping the man on his journey.
It's a reminder that we're all complex beings with both light and shadow within us, and that true wholeness comes from embracing all parts of ourselves. Now let's move on to a story that explores the concepts of compassion and discernment, divinity and discernment. This one was told by Ruiz's grandmother, Madre Sarita, and it's about a man who's told that God is going to visit him.
Okay. He prepares eagerly, wanting to make a good impression, but in the process, he ends up turning away an old woman, a beggar, and some children who come to his door.
He turns them away. Why would he do that?
He's so focused on the grand gesture of welcoming God that he misses the divine presence right in front of him in the form of the needy and vulnerable.
That's a powerful lesson in humility. It's easy to get caught up in our own agendas and miss the opportunities for kindness and compassion that present themselves each day.
Exactly. And when God finally appears, he reprimands the man for not recognizing the divine in those he turned away.
So it's not about grand gestures or trying to impress a higher power. It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity in every human being.
You got it. Shamanism challenges us to see the divine spark in everyone, even those who are different from us or those who challenge our beliefs.
That's a tall order. It requires a lot of open-mindedness and compassion.
Absolutely. And that's where discernment comes in. It's not about being naive or letting people take advantage of us. It's about seeing situations clearly, setting healthy boundaries, and acting with both wisdom and kindness.
So it's about finding that balance between unconditional love and protecting ourselves from harm.
Precisely. And Madre Sarita provides a great example of this in another story. She tells of two neighbors, one who generously shares his crops and another who takes advantage of that generosity.
Oh, no. So what happens?
Eventually, the generous neighbor has to lock his barn to protect his livelihood. It's a reminder that even kindness has limits, and that saying no can be an act of self-love and self-respect.
It's a tough lesson, but an important one. Discernment is about recognizing when our generosity is being reciprocated and when it's being exploited. It's about setting boundaries that allow us to give freely without being taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about a story that explores our relationship with death and the importance of honoring our ancestors, the Day of the Dead.
Most people associate it with a festive celebration in Mexican culture. But Ruiz's grandmother had a deeper interpretation. She believed that the true Day of the Dead is about awakening the dead parts within ourselves.
Wait, what does that mean?
It's about recognizing those aspects of ourselves that are stuck in fear, regret, or denial, the parts that are preventing us from living fully and embracing the present moment.
So it's like we're carrying around our own inner graveyard of unprocessed emotions and limiting beliefs.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And the Day of the Dead becomes an opportunity to acknowledge those parts of ourselves with compassion and choose to let them go, to make space for new life and growth.
It's a powerful metaphor for personal transformation, letting go of the old to make way for the new.
Exactly. And it's also about honoring our ancestors not just with sadness, but with joy, recognizing the love and light they brought into the world and letting their legacy inspire us to live more fully.
It's a beautiful way to connect with those who have come before us and to draw strength and wisdom from their journeys.
And speaking of powerful tools for transformation, let's revisit the story of the rattlesnake initiation for a moment. It wasn't just about the ritual itself, but also about the objects used, the stick, the stones, the feather.
Right. Those objects seem to hold a special significance.
Exactly. In shamanic practice, those are called power objects. They're imbued with intention and become focal points for energy. They can be used to connect with specific qualities or energies that we want to cultivate in ourselves.
So it's like they become allies on our journey, helping us to tap into our inner strength and wisdom.
Precisely. And each object has its own unique meaning and purpose. The stick might represent grounding and stability. The stones might symbolize strength and resilience, and the feather might signify lightness and connection to the spiritual realm.
That's fascinating. It makes me think about the objects in my own life that hold special meaning for me. A piece of jewelry, a photograph, a book. Maybe they're more than just sentimental items. Maybe they're power objects that can help me connect with certain qualities or energies.
That's a great insight. I encourage you to explore the objects in your life and see if any of them resonate with you in a deeper way. You might be surprised by what you discover.
I'm definitely going to do that. And speaking of connecting with powerful energies, shamanism also emphasizes the importance of animal totems.
Yes. Animal totems are spirit animals that guide and protect us on our journey. They embody specific qualities that we can call upon for support and inspiration. For example, Don Jose chose the bat, the rattlesnake, and the jaguar as his totems.
Wow. Those are some powerful animals. What qualities do they represent?
The bat represents the ability to navigate in darkness, to see beyond the limitations of our physical senses. The rattlesnake embodies the power of transformation, shedding its skin to make way for new growth. And the jaguar represents strength, courage, and focus.
So it's like having a whole team of spirit guides supporting us on our journey.
Exactly. And the beauty of animal totems is that they're always available to us. We can call upon their energy whenever we need it.
How do we discover our own animal totems? Is it something we choose, or is it something that reveals itself to us?
It can be a combination of both. Sometimes an animal will repeatedly appear in our lives, in dreams, in art, in nature, or we might feel a strong connection to a particular animal for no apparent reason. Pay attention to those synchronicities and see where they lead you.
That's exciting. I'm definitely going to start paying more attention to the animals that cross my path.
And remember, animal totems aren't just about the literal animal. It's about the qualities and energies that the animal represents. So even if you don't feel a strong connection to any particular animal, you can still explore the symbolism of different animals and see what resonates with you. What qualities do you need more of in your life? What challenges are you facing? There's an animal totem out there that can offer support and guidance.
That's a great point. It's like having access to a whole library of wisdom and inspiration.
For sure.
Okay, now, for a story that really touched my heart, The Day of the Dead. This one is about a young woman who's grieving the loss of her beloved. Every year, she makes a pilgrimage to the spot where he died, filled with sadness and regret.
Right, she's caught in a cycle of grief, unable to move on. She's clinging to the past, and in doing so, she's keeping herself trapped in a state of suffering.
It's like she's become a ghost haunting her own life.
Exactly. And then she encounters a shaman who asks her a profound question. Who is it that you are honoring?
Wow, that's a question that really cuts to the heart of the matter.
Right. The shaman points out that by clinging to her grief, she's not truly honoring her beloved. She's actually dishonoring him by denying the gift of life that he would want her to embrace.
So true. It's like she's letting his death define her life instead of letting his memory inspire her to live more fully.
And the shaman challenges her to wake up, to let go of the past, and to honor her beloved by embracing life in all its fullness. To laugh, to love, to dance, to experience all the joys and sorrows that life has to offer.
That's such a beautiful message. It's a reminder that death isn't the end, but a transition. And that by letting go of our attachment to the past, we can actually experience a kind of resurrection or rebirth into a more vibrant way of being.
And it's not just about letting go of grief, but also about celebrating life in all its fullness, both the joys and the sorrows.
Because even the challenges we face can be opportunities for growth and transformation.
Exactly. Shamanism teaches us that everything is interconnected, and that there's a purpose and meaning to everything that happens in our lives. Even death is seen as a natural part of the cycle of life.
It's a perspective that can help us to approach life with more acceptance and gratitude.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And by honoring our ancestors, not just with sadness, but with joy, we can tap into their wisdom and strength. We can feel their presence supporting us on our own journeys.
So we've explored some profound teachings through these stories, from the importance of finding our truth to embracing our shadow self, from cultivating awareness to honoring our ancestors.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. The shamanic path is a journey of continuous discovery, and these stories are like signposts guiding you along the way.
So what will you do with this newfound wisdom? What actions will you take to awaken the dead parts of yourself and embrace the fullness of life?
The choice is yours. The power to create the life you desire lies within you.
We'll be back to continue our exploration of shamanic wisdom. Wow, we've covered some really fascinating ground in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have. The stories and the wisdom of the shamans really offer a unique perspective on life, don't they?
They do. And it's striking how these ancient shamanic practices can still feel so relevant to us today, even in our modern world.
Absolutely. One of the key things I've taken away from this is that we're not just passive bystanders in our own lives.
Yeah.
We actually have the power to shape our own reality.
It's about making conscious choices, isn't it?
It is. Choices that are aligned with our values and what truly matters to us.
And we've seen how shamanic practices can give us the tools to do that, like cultivating awareness, embracing those shadow parts of ourselves, even connecting with the wisdom of our ancestors. It's powerful stuff.
It is. And speaking of powerful tools, remember those power objects we were talking about earlier? The stick, the stones, the feather from the rattlesnake initiation?
Oh, yeah, those were fascinating. There was definitely something special about those objects.
Exactly. They weren't just random things. In shamanic practice, these objects are carefully chosen and imbued with intention, you see. They become like focal points for energy and for connecting with specific qualities that we want to bring into our lives.
So they're kind of like allies or guides on our journey, helping us tap into our own inner strength and wisdom.
Exactly. And each object has its own unique meaning and purpose. The stick, for instance, often represents grounding and stability. Stones might symbolize resilience or strength. And the feather, well, that could signify lightness, a connection to the spiritual realm.
That makes me think about certain objects in my own life that hold a lot of meaning for me. A piece of jewelry, a photograph, even a special book. Maybe they're more than just sentimental items. Maybe they're power objects too, waiting to be discovered.
I think you're right. I encourage you to take another look at the objects you cherish and see if any of them resonate with you on a deeper level.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you uncover.
I'm definitely going to do that. It's like unlocking a hidden dimension of meaning in our everyday lives. And speaking of connecting with powerful energies, we can't forget about those animal totems, can we?
We can't. Animal totems are those spirit animals that act as guides and protectors on our journey. Each one embodies specific qualities we can call upon for support. Don Jose himself had the bat, the rattlesnake, and the jaguar as his totems.
Those are some pretty powerful animals. What do they symbolize?
The bat, for example, represents the ability to navigate in darkness. It reminds us to trust our intuition and see beyond the limitations of our physical senses. The rattlesnake embodies transformation, the shedding of old ways to make space for new growth. And the jaguar, well, the jaguar represents strength, courage, and a focused intensity.
So it's like having a whole team of spirit guides to support us on our path? That's incredible.
Yeah.
But how do we even figure out what our own animal totems are?
That's a great question. Sometimes a particular animal will just keep appearing in your life, in dreams, in art, even just randomly in nature. Pay attention to those signs, those synchronicities. They might be trying to tell you something. Or you might simply feel a strong connection to a certain animal. There's no right or wrong way to discover your totems.
That's exciting. It's like a little treasure hunt to uncover these spirit guides within our own lives.
It is. And remember, it's not just about the literal animal itself, but about the qualities that it embodies. So even if you don't immediately connect with a specific animal, you can still explore different animal symbolism. Think about what qualities you need more of in your life or what challenges you're facing. There's bound to be an animal totem out there that resonates with your journey.
That's a great point. It's like tapping into a whole library of wisdom and guidance from the natural world.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, there's one story from the wisdom of the shamans that I keep coming back to. The story of the woman grieving at her beloved's grave on the Day of the Dead.
Oh, yes. That was a powerful one, wasn't it? Stuck in that cycle of grief, unable to move on. But then that shaman appeared and asked her that profound question.
Who are you honoring? That really stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
It makes you think, doesn't it? The shaman was highlighting how sometimes by clinging to our grief, we're actually dishonoring the memory of those we've lost. We're not allowing ourselves to truly live and experience the joy that they would want for us.
It's like we're letting their death define our lives, instead of letting their love inspire us to embrace life even more fully.
And that's what the shaman challenged the woman to do, to wake up, to let go of the past, and to start living again, fully and completely, honoring her beloved's memory by embracing all that life has to offer. The laughter, the love, the challenges, the whole messy, beautiful experience.
That's such a beautiful message. It's a reminder that death isn't necessarily the end, but a transition. And by letting go of our attachment to the past, we can experience a kind of rebirth, a chance to step into a more vibrant way of being, honoring those we've lost by living our lives to the fullest.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Honoring the memory of those who have passed, while still embracing the gift of life that we have right now.
And that seems to be a running theme in a lot of these shamanic teachings. Finding that balance within ourselves, embracing both the light and the shadow, honoring the past while stepping boldly into the future. It's been a truly inspiring deep dive.
It has. And remember, these stories are just the beginning. The shamanic path is a journey of continuous discovery. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep listening to that inner voice that guides you.
Those are wise words to take with us. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the wisdom of the shamans. I hope you found it as enriching as I did.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining your light.
Did you get any of that?